Welcome, friends, back to Jesse's Storytime Spectacular. We're gonna go through Blair Witch, The Blair Witch Files, Book 1, The Witch's Daughter. Dun dun dun. Let's do this, baby. Alright. So, The Blair Witch Files, the books. There's 8 of them. They're all about Heather's brother's investigations into the Blair Witch after the movie. That's the basis of these books. Now, diving right in. All right? We've got a guy named Justin. He's visiting his grandpa in the hospital, who took a nasty fall. Anyway, the grandpa's only very trusting of Justin, not the rest of the family. So he goes to tell Justin he thinks that someone's after him. And that he thinks someone's coming to get him. Something's going to come kill him. Even though Justin thinks this whole thing is crazy, he listens to his grandpa and he's hearing him out, even though it's pretty out there. Right? Alright, so that's where we're at in part 1 of this book. There's 6 parts. Alright? And I'm going to break this down a little easier for you. Basically, that's part 1. Grandpa's scared of something from his past, and he doesn't want to tell Justin that much about it, but he's the only one he trusts in the family to talk to. Alright. Part 2. Why is Justin's grandpa so scared? It's because of his past, right? So, going into Louise in part 2. Grandpa goes into his history of his life to mention that there's someone in his life that was very significant. This girl who grew up with him. She ended up in a boy's home, acting like a boy, claiming her name was Lee. She did it as much as she could until the rest of the children decided, hey, we know your secret. We kicking you out, girl. We exposing you. So they're all nasty kids, and there's 8 of them, and they decide to like hang her up in a tree and like make her look like she did all these terrible things for the house or whatever that they're in. And the group home basically ends up, the leader of it, she's like, so she dips, sends her to some girl's school, but on the drive there, crashes the car, Blair Witch in the woods, all that. I put it all up on the screen. It's a lot easier. You guys can tell. I'm not going to spend 15 minutes going into it. So, I'm popping Louise's history timeline up on there for part 2 so that you understand what Grandpa goes to do. Now, 7 of the other 8 boys who took place in this happen to be dead in crazy, crazy accidents. So Grandpa is scared, okay? Part 3. Justin leaves Grandpa after hearing this gigantic story and the timeline of Louise/Lee as she disappeared into the Blair Witch Woods, shows up at a girls' school a year later or so, something like that. And then they kind of lost track of her history a little bit, but they get into it. Anyway, but we're in part 3. So Justin's like, all right, I've heard this story. I don't really know what to do, but I randomly meet some chick. Her name? Leslie. Now, Leslie happens to be some woman just volunteering at the Sykesville hospital that they're all at. And he's enjoying her company. And they're doing the investigation of his father's story and finding articles and whatnot they can. And she's trying to help. She seems like a normal chick, right? Whatever. Anyway, mysterious Leslie. Alright? Anyway, Leslie out of nowhere somehow pulls up the old diary of Lee and the whole Blair Witch experience and all that stuff. It's a big thing and all these stupid things about, like, how she got to be the Blair Witch's daughter or whatever. Alright, so that's all part 4 is Lee's diary. Alright? That came from Leslie. And we're not really sure if that diary is true or not, but it seems to line up with every bit of the story that we get from, Justin's grandpa. Alright? Justin wants to prove to the grandpa that he's safe and he's not going to get killed by some freaky ghost chick. He wants to introduce his chick to grandpa because he's taken a liking to this Leslie. Basically, grandpa's scared of her. He doesn't want to tell Justin why, but he finally agrees to, alright, I'll meet her. Justin takes him and puts him in a corridor area where they can kiki and talk and whatever, and he leaves grandpa for like 5 minutes. Leslie's in like some other room waiting for Justin to go get him, all that. Basically, Justin leaves, grandpa dies out of nowhere, Leslie's nowhere to be found. Obviously, weird Leslie. Anyway, after all that, Justin, and we're in part 5, by the way. So, it's Justin finds Leslie, and she's all weird and trying to take him on some walk in the woods and, like, acting all weird and cryptic and creepy and, like, I don't know. But anyway, she's trying to freak him out. She gets him in the woods, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. They go to some cabin. She goes inside. He follows her in, and then she gives him this big spiel about how, oh, this is all just some joke thing that I had a college, whatever paper I had to write about something I lied about a history. And it tries to pull that, but then as confused as everyone is, Justin's just like, okay. But then she just disappears. And Justin just leaves. And it's all very confusing. There's a lot of interpretations of what you believe, leading us into part 6, which is the afterword of everything. So basically, Grandpa's dead. All the story seems to line up. Even though Leslie seemed to fake some documents, the book could be real. So Justin's just talking back and forth with the author, who is Heather's brother, in an email. And that's the way that they contact, and that's the way that he starts off and does a lot of contact with the people in the stories. All right? Those emails are fun. These books were great. There's a lot of fun lore going on in Blair Witch. I'm going to be doing the next book after this one, but this was Blair Witch Files, The Blair Witch Files, Case 1, The Witch's Daughter. Thanks for dropping by. More Blair Witch stuff on the way. Love y'all. Peace. It's story time.